Hey guys, this is Mackenzie with Terrapin Creek Designs. If you've clicked on this video, I can only assume that you've purchased one of our Take and Make kits. And this is the instructional video on how to paint this ornament. This video is going to be the Mrs. Claus Santa Tracker. Each kit will include a list of what's in your kit and a QR code. The QR code will lead you to our link tree, which has our Facebook, our Etsy, our Instagram, our Venmo, and then a link to all of these videos. Any take and make kit that you purchase from us will come with an instructional video, and they will all be found at that QR code. So let's get into the video. In your kit, you will have your ornament pieces, your bow, your twine, and your bead. You get glue, a paintbrush, a sponge, and all of the paint. Get this box out of the way. All of the paint you will need for that ornament. You shouldn't have to purchase anything, period. Everything that your kit includes will be exactly what you need to make your ornament. So let me zoom you out just a little bit. There we go. So I'll give you hints along the way of things that may make your life a little easier when you're doing this. Of course, none of it is a necessity. You don't need any of it, just things that help. And the first thing is this tape, sticky side up, taped to the table. I use painter's tape, but you can use any kind of tape, scotch tape, boxing tape. I just wouldn't recommend glue, obviously, but tape will be your best friend for projects like this. So our first thing we're going to paint is the ring that goes around our ornament. This is your final product. I meant to show you this in the beginning. This is what you're making. How precious. So your tape keeps your pieces from sliding around as you're painting them, which just makes it a lot easier when you have these little bitty pieces that Mrs. Claus has in her kit. So you will thank me for the tape method. Also, another thing, if you have scissors accessible to you, you can cut your sponge down and make multiple sponges for all of your colors. If you don't have scissors accessible to you, you can always, if you use the fat end, switch to the thin end or fold it in half. Use that side and fold it the other way. Use that side, so you have 4 options for your sponge. I am going to cut it because that's what I prefer. Actually, I could try. I've never done it that way. So for the purpose that this is an instructional video and I've never done it that way, I'm going to cut it because that's what I'm used to. But you can totally bend your sponge, fold your sponge, rip your sponge, however you need to make it more than one. You may have these sponges in your house. They're just regular old makeup sponges, but they work like a charm. So also, if you're doing the sponge method, I just don't really like using paintbrushes because I'm not used to paintbrushes. I pump out a lot of these ornaments a year, throughout the year. Paintbrushes to me slow me down, so I prefer sponges. I can get a lot more use out of sponges for this project. If you're going to use a sponge method, if you have a paper plate accessible to you, that would help a whole lot. But you could use the top of a pizza box, a paper towel folded up, anything that you can pour paint out on and it not get on your surface. Granted, don't use my surface as an example because it's a craft table. But if you don't want paint on your surface, any kind of barrier would work fine. The ring around Mrs. Claus is green. It's not red, so we're going to do the light green. I'm just going to pour this out on my plate, and we're just going to go around the edge. I would not recommend dragging your sponge in like a sweeping motion. That could get paint in like the crevices of your letters. I would always pounce your sponge. However, in the event that you get, which we might get it because a bunch of these little guys are scored, so I might be able to show it to you in real time, but in the event that you get paint in one of these crevices, super simple to take care of. If you have a toothpick, you can use the back of your earring. Back of your earring, that might be a little unsanitary. I'm telling on myself there a little bit, but I use these. I get them from Dollar Tree, and they just have a little really fine point on them, and you can just drag them through, and it drags the paint right out. Super easy. So we have a ring painted. We're going to set it aside. If I can find a spot. And we're going to get out our, not accessories, but our other little pieces. And I like to try to put them in light colors. So we're going to have our reference photo here so we can see it. So her hair is white. The collar of her shirt is pink. This little thing, little cup, is multicolored. So I'm gonna, we might have to break out the paintbrush on this little guy. That may be a little difficult, but we're gonna make it work. Her glasses are red. Her buttons are brown. What is this? This is her little headband. It's red also with her glasses. Her holly, red and green. Her heart is red. Nope, her heart is white. And what is this? Her little nose. Whoa! Little tiny nose. It is pink. That looks shiny. Pink. And that's just scorched, but it'll paint right over. That's totally fine. So everything on Mrs. Claus gets covered with paint because she has buttons that overlay, her cup overlays, her nose overlays, her hair is white, her collar and things overlay. So we're going to paint this whole bottom half red, and then her face, and then her hair is white. So we're going to start down here with the red. I am going to have to use a paintbrush on a lot of this, which is not my preference, but we're going to do it. So we're going to use our paint pot, and we're just going to cover the bottom of Mrs. Claus. Go right up to that line. It really doesn't matter if these crevices get paint in them because you're going to cover them up. So that's okay. Got her painted. While I have the red out, I'm going to go ahead and do her glasses and her little headband. Okay. Red is done. Wash my brush. Okay, these two are pink, and there's no scoring on those. So I'm going to dump my pink out on my plate, just like we did the green for the ring. We're going to do her collar and her nose. That nose may take 2 coats. Her buttons are brown. I'm trying to get the easiest ones out of the way. These I'm going to use a sponge on as well. Buttons. And then her face is the pinky color also. So we're going to dump. That's kind of tricky. We're going to use the sponge. I may regret that. But this is the first time I'm painting it with the actual kit things and trying to figure out how I usually do it versus how I'm going to do it for the sake of the kit. So we're kind of figuring this out together also. And I'm a lefty, so I'm going to be moving this stuff all around. I'm going to use the paintbrush again. So, like I said, we're figuring this out together. I'm going to go across her collar. And this is where we are going to use the, hold on, the little poker thing that I showed you. We are going to use this on her face as I have covered up her smile. Let's see. Let me just drag it along the score. And it just drags that paint right out. It's perfect. Her nose really doesn't matter because you're going to cover it, but for the sake of doing everything else, I'm going to do, and then I just pinch the paint off. And this really won't matter because we're going to put her collar on, and then her her bun is pink. Her bun is not pink. Her bun is white. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to think of several things at once here. Because this little thing is going to be a booger, but we're gonna figure it out. Okay. Got our white poured out. And when you're going up against, which you'll have a headband. Yep. You want to get like your straightest edge so that you can go along this. But because this is so etched, I am going to use the sponge instead of the paintbrush. And we'll see how that works. Still going to have to use our little tool. And then we're going to do the rest of her hair and her heart. And you do not have to apply hardly any pressure when you're using this little tool. Just like regular hand pressure, and it works just fine. Okay, so I'm going to move this over here just so I can see it better instead of it being so far away. And we're going to get our paintbrush. I knocked the camera. Okay, so these are green and these are red. So we're going to get our green. Paint our holly. This is the same green I used for this part. We'll use this other green for our candy cane. Okay. Our holly is done. I'll wipe my paintbrush off. And then we are going to go in with our red. And I'm just going to get the very, very tip of this edge in the red so we can just barely dot it on the holly leaves. Just barely. Might need a little more than that. Just barely on there. Okay, got our berries. And move our holly. This is just a wet wipe. I wipe my brush off on. Not necessary. All you need is water. I just have a wet wipe right next to me that is pretty dried out. Okay, so the cup is red. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do the, whoa, I'm knocking stuff over. The lace, oh man. Getting stuff everywhere. I'm going to go ahead and do doily, the light, whatever that is, the little detail. And it is white. Again, I'm just getting the tip of the brush in the white and just trying to make little dots, not so much in any kind of sweeping motion, just dotting it on there, just like that. And then before I do my stripes in the green, I'm going to wipe my brush off again, and I'm going to try to get just the flat part of the brush and paint. Like that. And I'm going to try to just dab the stripes like that. Just like that. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the green. This green we haven't used yet. And I'm just going to get it off of the lid. Just the tip. Like that. Yeah. Green paint everywhere. And I have come to realize after doing so many of these that the special part, there we go, of having something that's handmade are the imperfections. I know a lot of us out there are, we are perfectionists. We don't like imperfections in our work. But I have, okay, we're doing the gingerbread brown, come to realize that sometimes imperfections just cannot be helped when you're doing DIY projects, especially when they are with something that's pre-put together, such as these kits. If I could give you a paintbrush of every size so that all of these were like perfectly precisioned, I totally would. It's just not feasible for us right now, but I'm hoping these videos are showing you it's totally possible to paint these items, even though we're learning them together. It's totally possible to do. So I hope that you can let go of just a little bit of that perfectionist piece and just remember how special it is to make things handmade, either to keep for yourself or to give as gifts. It's just like a little signature from you. Just, this wasn't store-bought. It didn't come off an assembly line. I'm going to go over this white one more time. A lot of times your whites will need 2 coats, but it didn't come off an assembly line, and it took you time and effort and love to create something for someone else. And that's the part that I really wish people would hold on to and not hold themselves so or hold themselves to such a high standard when it comes to things like this. So it's just fun. It's fun to do. And if you make it about a bunch of rules, in my opinion, it kind of sucks the fun out. And what fun is that? No fun. So we've got our pieces painted. The nose needs some paint. I'll actually go over the collar too while I have the pink out. Okay, and for the sake of the video only, I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer. You absolutely do not have to hit this with a hairdryer. I'm sure you aren't on such a time crunch as I am, but I have a lot of videos like this to make tonight, so I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer and speed the process up a bit. That's all I'm doing, and I'll just speed the video up so you can see that that's all I'm doing. I'm just letting it dry more. Okay, so now it is time to assemble our ornament. So I'm going to scoot all of this up to the top of the frame so you can still see, but also see what I'm doing. This white part, I don't remember if I've mentioned it or not. I keep forgetting, but this white part needs to stay white. Please do not paint this white part. I don't know if it will mess with the integrity of the QR code. If you get paint in any of these engraved spots. So I would leave the QR code, leave this white, just put on top of it. Leave the white as your base. So we're going to put the green over top. You're going to get your glue bottle. We're going to go around the circle. Out of frame. And I always use my finger and dab off the glue. It kind of spreads it around and it helps the glue not seep out around the edges. And it does come off of your skin super easy. It just rolls off like Elmer's glue does. It's not Elmer's glue. This is actual, not cheap craft glue. So it's not, once it's stuck, but it comes off of your skin really easily. And it takes about 45 seconds to completely dry to cure. So you have a good amount of time if you get it a little off center that you can scoot it around to make sure you've got it where you want it before it completely adheres. So we got that down, and then we're gonna, I think I'm gonna put Mrs. Claus down and then build on top of her instead of the other way around. I'm gonna dab the glue and kind of drag it to the center also so it's away from the edges. Just a personal preference. Put Mrs. Claus right in her little spot here. And then we're going to do her, the glasses are the last thing I painted. So or one of the first things I painted, so I know they're not wet. If you have accessible to you, oh no, I'm going to run out of battery, I'm afraid. Tweezers, it really helps with these little pieces to place them and comes in handy a lot. Scissors are not included in the kit, therefore I am not going to use them, but I put glue in the middle and then I just use my finger to drag it out to the sides. And then we're just going to place them on cute Mrs. Claus and her little tiny nose. If you put a drop of glue and then put the nose in there. Then you can stamp it. It makes it a lot easier. I have glue on my finger. Okay. Put her little nose on. And then we can put her hair goes over her glasses like that. That's what those two little indentions are. Goes over her glasses. So we're going to put her glue on. Hope my battery doesn't die. Glue. And her headband. Perfect. And her little buttons. Oh my, that's a lot of glue. Now the glue does dry clear, but I still don't want that much glue. So I'm going to get some of that off. And then use my paintbrush to kind of smear it back in. Multi-purpose, these paintbrushes, multi-purpose. And then put your button on. And do a dab of glue right there. We're going to use my paintbrush again. Drag it around. Like that. Put her little mug and drop her heart in. Perfect. And her little collar. I'm trying to hurry because my battery is dying and I don't want it to die in the middle of this. And then her holly, where is her holly? In her hair. Put the holly on her hair. Okay. Now that she's assembled, we're going to get our, I'm rolling my glue off. See, it just rolls off. So easy. You're going to get your bow, twine, and bead. Our bow still looks kind of good, but if your bow is a little smashed from being in its little packing bag thing, packing sleeve, you can put your fingers in, pointed towards yourself, and just kind of bring your bow back to life a little bit. You're going to take your twine, match up the ends and find your center, pinch and twist, and that will go right into your bead. Super simple. Pinch and twist again, feed it into the top of your ornament so your loop is in the back. Pull your bead up and put it through the loop. That's on the outside of your loop. Put in, grab your two pieces from your bead string, put in a leg and one hoop. Pull the top that has your bead on it to cinch that down. And then push your bead down. We're going to put a knot at the top of our ornament there, and that will secure your bead and your bow in place. And then you're going to put a knot at the top to complete your ornament. There's your finished product. Here is the product we started with. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. God bless.